The history of the Philippines is also the history of suffering that the country received from the Spaniards. It was endured for many years until some heroes decided to act for the beloved country. I think you are now ready to hear what happened 100 years ago. The Spanish explored and colonized the islands of the Philippines in 1565, 44 years after Ferdinand Magellan discovered the land and died in the Battle of Mactan. Throughout the years, many battles and wars occurred in the land of Philippines. Spain has successfully suppressed countless revolts from the natives, and they managed the Philippines for 300 years without a large scale of revolts, because they executed most of them and show it to the other natives to instill fear to their hearts. But those fears changed to anger when the Spaniards keep abusing them day by day. And eventually, they killed the three priests in 1872, accused of sedition. The names are Mariano Gomez, Jose Burgos, and Jacinto Zamora, known as Gumburza. Some think about revolution, while others don't want such savagery. Especially Jose Rizal, part of propaganda movement who writes reform and seeks equality. He believed that Filipinos are not ready for total freedom. Members of this group are included Mariano Ponce and Marcelo H. Del Pilar. They do not believe that violence is a solution. They want a peaceful way. But Rizal was wrongly accused of being the member of the revolutionary named Katipunan. And got executed in 1896. Revolutionary Organization KKK stands for Kataas-Taasang Kagalang-galangang Katipunan ng mga Anak ng Bayan, also known as Katipunan, created on July 7, 1892. Katipunan is a secret revolutionary nationalist society founded by Andres Bonifacio and other founding members. Unlike the propaganda movement, they want separation and freedom through violence. In August 1896, the members of Katipunan gathered in Caloocan and declared the start of revolution, also known as Cry of Balintawak. They tore the cedula as a sign of resisting the Spanish government. Andres Bonifacio, who eventually became the Supremo, the leader of Katipunan, encouraged and inspired the Filipinos to fight for their freedom. He led the very first fight in Katipunan, but he was defeated along with his left members. They retreated. Emilio Aguinaldo later joined the Katipunan in 1894. He used Magdalo as his Katipunan name. He won many battles against the Spanish army. He and his allies defeated the army of Governor General Blanco and take over Cavite. The achievement that raised Emilio Aguinaldo's name. Many wars occurred throughout the Philippines. Sometimes they lose, sometimes they win. By August 30, the revolt was spread to 8 provinces. These were Manila, Bulacan, Cavite, Pampanga, Tarlac, Laguna, Batangas, and Nueva Ecija. On that date, Governor declared a state of war in these provinces and placed them under the martial law. Supremo Bonifacio, Aguinaldo, and the Katipunan fought for freedom with their own life at risk. But the two leaders of Katipunan had a conflict that led to mistrust each other. Aguinaldo's Magdalo faction declared the existence of an insurgent government in October, regardless of Bonifacio's Katipunan. On March 22, 1897, a convention was held in Tejeros to settle the dispute between the two factions and to decide on what type of government should be installed. During early phase of the convention, the crowd became unruly, causing a recess. When the convention resumed, Bonifacio was assigned to preside in the election, the officer of the new government that was to be set up. Before this, however, Bonifacio laid down the rule that the assembly should respect whatever would be the outcome of the election. Aguinaldo was elected as the president of the new revolutionary government, while Bonifacio was elected as a Secretary of Interior. Daniel Tirona contested and argued that a lawyer should be handled the position. Bonifacio felt insulted and demanded an apology for Tirona. Because of humiliation and anger, Bonifacio declared that all matters convened in Tejeros convention were null and void. Together with his supporters, he left. Because of misunderstanding, Bonifacio and his brother was arrested. They were convicted of sedition and sentenced them to death. Aguinaldo was against it at first and recommended that brothers should be exiled instead, but his generals are against it, and later they executed them in May 1897. The Spanish recaptured the Cavite but did not capture Aguinaldo and other Katipunan leaders that retreated and reached Biak na Bato. Pact in Biak na Bato was decided between Filipino and Spaniards, signed on December 15, 1897, created a truce between Spanish colonial Governor General Fernando and the revolutionary leader Emilio Aguinaldo to end the Philippine Revolution. Spaniards paid them $800,000 for self-exile along with his subordinates in Hong Kong. But both sides did not carry out the pact honestly. Emilio Aguinaldo used money to buy weapons in Hong Kong, while the Spaniards reneged to promise reform. The United States declared war against Spain. Surprisingly, the US asked Aguinaldo for his help against Spain, But when it became clear that the United States had no interest in the liberation of the Philippines, Aguinaldo forces remained apart from the US troops and did not help them. On May 1, 1898, in the Battle of Manila Bay, the squadron of the US Navy led by Commodore George Dewey decisively defeated the Spanish naval forces in the Philippines. Aguinaldo returned to Manila on May 19, 1898 and declared Philippine independence on June 12. Aguinaldo was proclaimed President of the Philippine Republic. Not surprisingly, the United States refused to recognize Aguinaldo's authority, and on February 4, 1899, declared war on the US forces in the islands. After his capture on March 23, 1901, Aguinaldo agreed to swear allegiance to the United States and then left public life. Philippine independence came true on July 4, 1946.